first module that I put into the Creative B2B Marketing Course is buyer group dynamics. And out of all 30 of the different videos and different modules, that one module is probably the most important one in the whole series because everything else is built on that. It's about understanding your audience, which, as all marketers know, is thing one. One of the biggest mistakes I see B2B marketers making today is that they are working with an ICP, your ideal client profile, okay, and you're profiling this person to figure out their pain points, their likes, their dislikes, their objectives, how your solution fits with their objectives, all that stuff. But they're only doing it for a single person. So they're assuming that a single person within that company gets to make the entire buying decision, as if that one person is going to write the check. If your ICP has discretionary spending power and they can write a check for $5,000, $10,000, whatever it is for the year, that marketing approach will work because you just have one person. However, when you get into account-based marketing, business-to-business solutions that cost a serious chunk of money, I would say anywhere from $50,000. I've worked on it with companies and different products where their typical sales are about $100,000, $200,000. I've worked with other companies where they have sales of $700,000 and $1 million for their solution for the year. And that's a year of revenue. In some cases, it's a single purchase of a product. And in some cases, it is yearly recurring revenue. No single person in a company that I've ever seen has the authority to just sign off on a purchase like that without involving a buyer group. And your buyer group is a team of influencers or stakeholders within the company that can all influence what happens with your deal. And this is mainly for long sales cycles, okay? We're talking anywhere from 3 months to 12 months to 18 months for $1 million purchase is not uncommon. Now, this buyer group concept, it sounds pretty complex, but it doesn't have to be. And you as a marketer have a lot of power to help a deal happen quickly, smoothly, and to help accelerate revenue. If you do not do your marketing, if you do not plan your marketing around a buyer group and the buyer group dynamics, then you are hanging your salesperson's ass out to dry because those salespeople will have to put in loads of effort and time in their one-on-one presentations and presenting first to the champion, which is the main person that they're appealing to and that is going to benefit the most from your solution, to the other influencers and possibly deal detractors and other people. They have to present that over and over and over again and talk to different people, or they have to try to get the champion persona within the buyer group to do all of that selling for them internally. To expect the one person within the company to sell all the other team members that person has to report to, and the other stakeholders within the deal, to expect one person within the company to do your selling for you is hard. It's a very hard load to put onto your sales team. So as a marketer, let's dig into buyer group dynamics. It seems like it's very complex, but it doesn't have to be. So I've broken this down into 3 different categories of the types of people or personas that you are likely to have with any given buyer group and within any different industry. Buyer groups can be fairly complex. There can be 12 to 15 different people who all have opinions and input on a specific deal. And typically, the higher priced item the solution is, the higher price point it is, typically the more people you have influencing that decision. But the good news is we don't have to create marketing for everybody, for all those people, because there is a lot of overlap with your strategy and the content that you're going to build for this type of dynamic. To help simplify this, I've broken it down into 3 different categories of the buyer group. So a typical buyer group will have what I call the champion. The champion is the person, usually one of the first people to become aware of your brand and to have a favorable impression of your brand. The salespeople love talking to their champion because that's the person who can typically benefit the most from your solution. So those conversations go really well with the salesperson. Your salespeople are gonna say, wow, these guys, they like our solution, our features fit what they need. We can resolve their pain points. We can help their operations go more smoothly. These conversations are going really well. So a typical buyer group will have a champion. The champion persona is where you want to focus your top of funnel marketing development, your advertising, your trade show outreach, videos that you promote, things like that. Your champion is the person who consumes your marketing content in a positive way, and they have a positive impression of the information that you're feeding to them to help move the deal along. Your second type of stakeholders are what I call your influencers. They can influence the deal in one way or another, either a positive way that they like your solution, your products, or in a negative way that they want to challenge it a little bit and say, well, we don't really know this company very well. Maybe we should have a look at the other competitors in the field. By the way, one of your main objectives here is to get your company on what is called the short list with your buyer group. The short list means that your company is in the top 3 or 4 of vendors or companies under consideration for the purchase that they're going to make. The influencers are people who definitely have a stake in your solution because your solution is going to affect their department, their specific responsibilities in some way. The last persona that I have categorized here is frequently overlooked in many, many purchasing situations, and it can rear its ugly head at the very end of the funnel. By the time your people travel through the top of your funnel, your advertising, your trade shows, all that stuff, the middle of your funnel, they go to your website, they download some data sheets, they have a look at your videos, that type of thing. Bottom of funnel, they're having one-on-one presentations. You've been doing this deal for 4 months, 5 months. You think everything is going really well. Boom, you get to the bottom of the funnel and somebody blows the deal up. Something happens where the deal falls through. There's a lot of different reasons why that can happen. You as a marketer can help prevent that from happening. That is by identifying, if you can, who the detractor persona is within the buying group. Who the different personas are within the buyer group, and you start to learn a little bit about how they explore your brand, how they find out about your brand. Your job is to develop a content ecosystem and content on your website that addresses the pain points, concerns, and objectives of the entire buyer group. If you do this, and you do it well, and you deliver that information to the individuals within the buyer group at the point that they're interested in looking at it, your deal will go so much faster. Your salespeople will have smooth conversations. There'll be positive conversations. Your deals happen faster. So I've seen what is typically a 6-month buying cycle get compressed down into 3 months or even 2 months if this cycle happens very quickly. what is typically a 12-month buying cycle for maybe a $500,000 purchase, I've seen get compressed into 9 months and 6 months. So when you can accelerate these deals, you are accelerating your revenue growth, because once your salesperson makes a deal after 6 months, they thought maybe it was going to take 12 months, as typical. If they can do it in 6 months, now they're ready to work on something else. They're ready to start another deal process with another lead. The process that you're going to do to really make this work well as a marketer is to identify the responsibilities, the objectives, and the pain points of each of these categories: your champion, your influencer, your stakeholder. Now, your champion, you've probably already done that. If you've worked on your ICP, you know who you're selling to, right? And maybe you want to open up new markets and discover new territories to conquer. Okay, so you're going to find new champions, but you have a pretty good ICP worked out with them. And if you've been marketing for any length of time, you probably already have your Google ads, your LinkedIn ads, your trade show content is all dialed in to appeal to the champion. So it's not hard to find the pain points and the responsibilities of these people, these personas within your industry, especially with today's AI capability, because AI search engines are fantastic at going across the internet, compiling data from multiple different sources and giving you a single report in a matter of seconds. So you should be able to do this process of identification really within an hour to 2 hours or so, depending on your specific situation. Now, I mentioned before that there could be 12 to 15 different people. This could be complex within the scenario. You only need to focus on maybe 4 to 6 at the most of the different people within the buyer group. To find out the information, for example, on each of your influencers or stakeholders within your buyer group, you're just going to go look at their job descriptions. That's the easiest way to do it right away. Just go look at, like, for example, if your champion is the chief marketing officer, let's say you're selling some management software solution like Monday.com or Hive or Rike or Jira or one of those for management software. Or you can just go look at the marketing manager for that industry, those types of companies, and find those on LinkedIn or a multiple of other just job sites on the internet. Have a look at the job description, or get an average just from using an AI tool, and it will tell you what the pain points are and the responsibilities and the primary objectives of each of these influencers. Okay, so you'll get that for your champion. Your other influencer, for example, for the influencers, for example, using the software management analogy again, you might have a director of HR who is going to be affected a little bit by that software. You might have a vice president of operations who is also going to have some concerns about that software, want to know that it's going to fit with other software, that it's going to work correctly. One of the detractors, now detractor is someone who has the power to sink your deal. Okay, and it can be just one person, and frequently is one person within the company. If you don't think you have a detractor, think again. Every single buyer group has a detractor, someone who has the power to sink the deal. Frequently, it is someone in charge of finance. So it can be your chief financial officer, your director of finance, or along those lines. That person is going to want to know how this purchase benefits the company. So how does purchasing your solution benefit the company? There is marketing strategy you can do here to resolve that detractor up front. And the faster you do it, the better your deal is going to go. In this scenario, with your project management software, let's assume your detractor is an IT director. And the IT director comes in and will say, well, yeah, this software management tool you want to use looks great, but how is it going to play with our other software systems? I want to see what the APIs are for compatibility. How is this going to fit in with our, we're using Salesforce, for example. How's your management software going to interface with that? We're using Hootsuite. How is that going to interface with those softwares and play nice with them so that I don't have problems on my network, right? That's what your IT director is also going to talk about security. They're going to say, how secure is this thing? Is the company that develops this software, are they SOC 2 compliant? Are they, what security certifications do they have? What is this person? And I have actually had this happen more than once where I've been in the conference room with the CEO, the CFO, the director of HR. We've all been in the conference room talking about some kind of solution that we're going to do for the company. And things were going well for months between the salespeople and phone calls back and forth. And we thought the deal was going to happen. IT director came in and just shot down the whole deal. Says, well, these guys they don't have any security certificates. They're not, and they haven't been in business that long. How do we know that their software isn't going to open up our network for security problems? I've had this happen more than once, like I've mentioned, where a detractor has come in, usually at the bottom of the funnel, and blown up the deal. As a marketer, what you're going to do after you have identified the pain points, objectives, and all that, and you have a little matrix put together for each of the personas within your buyer group. And just like I said, just start with like 4 of them, okay, to keep it simple as you start out here. Then you're going to develop a messaging matrix, which is going to consist of a headline, an intro paragraph, benefit-oriented bullet points that is messaging for each of these influencers within the buyer group. And then you're going to develop content to be delivered at strategic times in their journey through your funnel. Don't assume that your buyer group here is going to consume your content the way that you think they are. In other words, your IT person or the person who could be a detractor may not even see your website. They may not even see your newsletter, any of your advertising, or anything at all. They may not see anything about your company or your brand until they get into a one-on-one meeting with a salesperson. And really good things can happen at this point as well. If you have a solution brief that starts to get distributed, and the solution brief is just one-pager, really quick overview what your company's about, but salespeople, they love the solution brief, and there's a really good reason for that, because that sheet can get distributed amongst all the different influencers without them even coming to your website or taking the time to explore your solution or watch a video or read your blog or anything like that. If one of the people starts distributing a solution brief within this group, you have instant credibility because that person has put their butt on the line to say, hey, this company looks pretty good. It looks like something we might want to explore. What do you guys think about it? There are many other types of pieces of content that can be very valuable and really help to accelerate the deal, make it move smoothly once you have that messaging block developed. And we'll talk more about the messaging block in the next video.